Hello everyone, I'm François Picard. He chanted "Free, Free Palestine" after his arrest. A 31-year-old Chicago man, the lone suspect in the shooting death of two Israeli staff members who were killed outside a Jewish museum in the U.S. Capitol where an event was about to take place. Karis Garland has more.
A street corner in the heart of the United States Capitol, now a crime scene. Two people were shot dead while leaving an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum on Wednesday night. Some of those attending the event described the initial confusion after hearing gunshots. They said the assailant was let into the museum, at first believed to be a victim, before he started chanting "Free Palestine."
It was about 9:07 when we heard gunshots, and then a man comes in. He looks really distressed, and people are talking to him and trying to calm him down.
When the cops actually came in, he said, "I did this." He said, "Sir, I'm unarmed." He put his hands up. He grabbed a red keffiyeh out of his pocket and started the Free Palestine chants. You know, there's only one solution, Intifada revolution.
Police identified the suspect as a 30-year-old man from Chicago who was not previously known to law enforcement.
Prior to the shooting, the suspect was observed pacing back and forth outside of the museum. He approached a group of 4 people, produced a handgun, and opened fire, striking both of our decedents.
According to Israel's ambassador to the U.S., those killed in the attack were staff members of the Israeli embassy, a young couple about to be engaged, identified as Yaron Lischinski and Sarah Milgram. On a post to his social media platform, U.S. President Donald Trump offered his condolences to the families of the victims and said the attack was obviously based on anti-Semitism. The Israeli foreign minister echoed this and went further, saying the shooting was inspired by rhetoric about Israel's war in Gaza.
There is a direct line connecting anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli incitement to this murder. These libels about genocide, crimes against humanity, and murdering babies paved the way exactly for such murders.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he had ordered beefed-up security measures at Israeli diplomatic missions worldwide.
Well, for more, let's cross to Washington and correspondent Fraser Jackson. Fraser, what's the latest?
A very different scene here today. Now, we were here in the very early hours of the morning, up until about 2 o'clock in the morning, when police started to wrap up the crimes. And you can see now those police cars have been replaced by media outside of the Jewish Museum here. There is a significant media presence. This really has caught the attention of the media from around the world. But we're learning more, along with investigators, about the profile of this man, 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez, born and raised in Chicago. A LinkedIn profile to his name shows him as working at the Chicago-based American Osteopathic Information Association. Now, the officials have not confirmed that that is indeed the profile of the man who is being held in custody, but that association has released a statement saying, "We are shocked and saddened to learn that an employee has been arrested as a suspect in this horrific crime. As a physician organization dedicated to protecting the health and sanctity of human life, we believe in the rights of all persons to live safely without fear of violence." Now, this man was previously unknown to police, and it's not currently known whether he is residing in Washington or whether he came here specifically for this attack. All of those kind of details, investigators are still working out. But we've heard from the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, who said that he will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And we know that federal prosecutors are looking into this, and there are possible charges of hate crimes along with murder as well that he could potentially be facing. Some judicial sources that I'm hearing from as well also saying that it's a potential death penalty case. So some movement today, but of course the investigation's still in the relatively early stages, and they are still ongoing, those investigations.
What's the mood on the day after?
It's extremely somber here. We've seen a lot of press, of course. Like I said, this has captured media attention, but we're also seeing a lot of people who are wandering the area with T-shirts that say things like "Fight anti-Semitism." Some people draped in the Israeli flag as well. But of course, this kind of reflects the wider mood that a lot of Jews in America have been feeling. There has been a rising spiral of anti-Semitism in the United States ever since the October 7th attacks back in 2023. A lot of that, of course, sparked in part by the response that Israel gave to those attacks and those images of devastation that we've seen coming out of Gaza. That, of course, has sparked public debate, and the rhetoric on both sides has become extremely heated, and it has become more than ever a very polarizing issue. So the mood quite somber. We're going to hear more from officials later on in the day. Donald Trump will be speaking at the White House to the White House pool within the next few hours. And we're also going to be hearing from Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary at the White House. So we're likely to get more reaction from US officials on the record rather than just statements. But of course, the feeling here really one of shock, anger and annoyance and frustration that these kind of hate crimes can happen.
Fraser Jackson reporting live there from Washington, D.C. We'll, of course, be crossing back to you when we know more. Let's get reaction from Israel with former Israeli diplomat, columnist Alon Pinkas. Thank you for speaking with us here on France 24. Alon Pinkas, I don't know if you can hear us. Yeah, there you are. All right, perfect. First off, you were stationed in the United States in the past. Your reaction to what happened?
It's terrible. It's horrible. It's a terror attack. It is, it's unimaginable and unspeakable. And the fact that it takes place in D.C., I worked at the embassy in D.C. in the late 1980s. It's terrible. It's enmeshing a few elements here: anti-Semitism, violence, the availability and easily accessible weapons. The whole thing is all included in one big tragedy. Trying to make something political and trying to extrapolate from this, I think, is somewhat both premature but primarily a mistake.
Fraser Jackson was telling us earlier how it's too soon to say whether this couple, because they were a couple, was singled out, or were they the victims of bad luck in this instance, because he pointed the gun at them. But they were going to get engaged to be married.
Yeah. Look, I don't know the details. I mean, obviously the Washington Metropolitan Police and the FBI will interrogate the assailant, the suspect, and they'll find out whether or not this was random. I mean, definitely he was there because he knew there was an event, and he knew there would be Jews and or Israeli embassy personnel. Whether or not these particular two were targeted, I have no idea. But you know what? In all due respect, it doesn't matter. The man murdered two Israelis for the mere fact that they were Israelis, and that's the bottom line here.
Yeah, you're saying it's too early to draw all the conclusions. However, the French Foreign Ministry has reacted very sharply after remarks by Israel's foreign minister, Gideon Sar, accusing unnamed European officials of, quote, toxic anti-Semitic incitement. And he blames a hostile climate on what happened in Washington on Wednesday evening. Your reaction to that?
I think it's complete and utter nonsense and unnecessary incendiary pontification. This has nothing to do with political statements made by France, the UK, Canada, and the joint statement they made 2 days ago, or by the EU Commission made 2 days ago. And this is not about, by the way, Francois, part of his criticism, the foreign minister's criticism, was directed inward to opposition leader, one of the opposition leaders, Yair Golan, who just 2 days earlier accused the government of freely killing non-combatants and babies, he said, in Gaza. And that is why the government, the foreign minister in this particular instance, is trying to link the two. Oh, well, the French and the British and the Israeli opposition say all these things, and they emboldened and they empowered this type of act of violence. That is absolute nonsense. He's saying this for political expediency and political reasons. And, you know, you would imagine that at a time, you would hope, rather, that at a time like this, cool heads would reign. No, the exact contrary. He's just throwing fuel into the bonfire.
You referenced that those remarks made on the radio 2 days ago by opposition politician Yair Golan. Let's take a listen to that clip.
Sure.
I said this morning that we are a sane country that does not kill children. When ministers in this government celebrate the death and starvation of children, we must say so. I was referring solely to the most failed government in Israeli history, not to the IDF. Our mission is to ensure that Israel remains a sane country that does not kill children, either as a hobby or as a policy.
Now, he's a former Army general. Let me ask you, is that a minority point of view we just heard?
That's a very good question, because if you look at the polls, it's a minority. It's like 20%, 25% of the Israeli public as it is reflected in polls. But many voters, I would say above 50%, feel extreme uneasiness and discomfort with the pictures they're seeing from Gaza. You know, and the reports coming out of indiscriminate, some right, some exaggerated, but nonetheless, the reports coming out on indiscriminate bombings throughout 2024 and 2025. This is not a one-off incident. And so I think a lot of people feel, you know, they cringe when they hear him say this because they feel uncomfortable, because you have to remember, Francois, in Israel, the military, the IDF is everyone. It's me. It's my neighbors. It's my daughters. It's my brothers. It's my father. So people feel uncomfortable when they're being told, when they see that this is what the IDF is doing at the behest of the government and following a government policy. Yet, while cringing, they feel very uncomfortable admitting that this is what they're doing, because if you admit that this is what we're doing, then you're doing it. Nonetheless, if you dig deeper into the polls, you will see that at least 50% of the public feels extraordinarily uncomfortable with these pictures coming out of Gaza in the last year. And that, of course, is not mutually exclusive from people justifying the war on its own merits.
There's the last year, but there's also the last week where, ever since Donald Trump went to the Gulf, the deaths have been by the dozens, according to authorities in the Hamas-controlled Palestinian territory. 52 killed this Thursday. That's just this Thursday. Why is it so intense, the airstrikes in the last week?
I wish I had an intelligent answer to give you, Francois. I honestly, candidly do not. I don't understand what the purpose of this military offensive is. I don't understand what could be conceivably attained, what military objectives could be attained. It seems as an act of defiance by Mr. Netanyahu, against the background of Mr. Trump, President Trump's trip to Saudi Arabia, the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar, to show that, you know, the business as usual, we're going on, we have a mission. It's been 19, almost 20 months since October 2023 that Israel has been doing this. I just fail to see what is the objective of this. And by the way, I'm not some kind of lone voice who, says the emperor has no clothes. A majority of former major generals, heads of Mossad, heads of the General Security Services also ask these questions day in and day out. What is it that Israel is trying to achieve with this military objective? I mean, if the idea is to occupy the entire Gaza Strip, Okay, fine. I'm against that, but I understand the logic. Go ahead and do it, but they're not doing it. They're just bombing. And so I honestly have no clear answer. I know for someone who doesn't have a clear answer, I spoke too much, but I don't.
We had in the Oval Office on Wednesday when Donald Trump was with the South African president. He didn't criticize or condone what was going on in the Gaza Strip when asked about it. At this point in time, in light of this attack that took place on Wednesday evening, will that somehow change the Trump administration's policy towards all this?
I doubt that. I mean, it's very difficult for anyone, me included, to discern accurately what it is that Trump has in mind. But I'll tell you this, Francois, the most dangerous thing that he could do is become indifferent, become aloof, become oblivious to what's going on. Come out with a statement a few days from now saying basically, I did my best, I tried. If these two, if the Palestinians and the Israelis want to bang their heads against the wall, they could be my guests. Call me when you're ready. I'm out. I have Ukraine, I have Greenland, I have tariffs, I have immigration, I have China, I have other things to attend to. On the other hand, conversely, he's under, I don't know if I can call it pressure because I don't know the exact specifics, but he's certainly under the influence and the sway of the Saudis, the Emiratis, and the Qataris to do something about this. And as you know, in the next few days, the Saudis and the French are convening some kind of a workshop or open conference to somehow draw or somehow sketch out an idea how to end the war. I think Trump could be amenable and receptive to such an idea. He wants this over. And at this point, he sees that Israel is not playing along and is not being a team player as far as he is concerned. So I'm sure he's angry and displeased. What he will do, I don't know.
Alon Pinkas, many thanks for speaking with us from Tel Aviv.
Thank you, François, always.